Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. For the first time in 2026, we are back to WSSR Cup Series racing action presented by Elwood Designs. Crazy to think that our holiday breaks are finally over and done. For the rest of the season, it's all about who will be crowned the champion of Season 12 of the WSSR Cup Series. We've gotten done with our first half of the regular season. It's now time for the second half. If you haven't started moving forward in the right direction to be in the top 16 in points, today is your day to start it, because you're going to run out of time here very quickly if you don't start hitting your marks. And we're going to start this second half of the season with a pretty tough track. It's the 1 mile course of the Milwaukee Mile for the WSSR Cup Series. We're excited to give you the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Richard Wolsifer. And Richard, it's great to be back. Holidays are done. Thanksgiving's over. Christmas, New Year's, and now it's just time for some racing action from here on out.
It is, man. The holiday break was a really nice break for everybody. It was great to be able to rest the voice and not have to think about this for a minute. But I know these drivers, they are ready to get back out on track to start the new year off. And I bet with a win, every single one of these drivers will want to kick off their year in iRacing with a bang. So hopefully we'll see who can get it done tonight here at the tough track of Milwaukee Mile. Flat track here. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch what you guys can do with this Gen 4 car at this track.
It certainly should be. We also want to say thank you to everyone that's joining with us here this evening that may have seen us on Saturday, as we just came off of our charity race of our 6 hours of Daytona for Breakthrough T1Z, an incredible event. We raised over $3,600. Thank you so much to everyone that was watching and that participated and also donated for such a great cause. But for here on Wednesdays, top of the board, a little bit of a shakeup. John Forbes Jr. taking the top spot off of Jake Nichols, which you talk about a driver that everyone is trying to topple. Jake Nichols is that driver, the rookie that has hopped in from Lucky Duck Motorsports. Richard, he's been the top driver since race 1. He's just been right there, and everyone knows if you're gonna beat anybody, it's gonna be Nichols, who already has 3 wins this season.
Yeah, Jake Nichols, 6 starts, all 6 races in the top 10. 1 race he did not finish in the top 5, and 3 wins on top of all that. He is definitely the dominating driver this season, WSSR. And every single one of these drivers are trying to chase him down, figure out what he's doing and how to get that speed. A couple of those drivers like John Forbes, Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers are defending champion. They're all trying to figure out what they can do to catch up and best Jake Nichols. And right now, John Forbes, the fastest lap on the track, he might have something for him, but we'll have to see, because we know tire wear is going to be a big factor here at this track.
It certainly will be, and a lot of handling issues going to be the factor of this evening. The power, and when drivers finally get the torque into these machines, has been very weird. Been listening to some of the conversations from drivers getting ready for this race. It's very tight in, loose out, and it's just, how can you control this vehicle to maximize the speed over a long run? I think that's going to be the key, but that's if we can get a long run. Last time we ran here, it's the only other time that the WSSR Cup Series has ran at Milwaukee Mile was back in Season 10, almost a year ago. And I just only ran there once. That was back when they were in the next-gen Gen 7 machine. Here tonight, we're in the Gen 4. Gonna be a little bit of a different handling car, but that last time they ran, 12 cautions were thrown over 153 laps. We have 150 on the docket to run here this evening. Let's see how many of those are under yellow flag conditions. But qualifying could be a fun thing to see, because I was hearing, Richard, from the drivers, It was about maximizing being on the edge. Everyone's going to have to be really wheeling this thing off the exit of turn 4 to find the pure speed for the full time.
You know, that is the biggest difference with these Gen 4 stock cars from NASCAR versus the next gen is, like, these cars, in order to be extremely fast, they always had to drive these cars on the ragged edge of out of control. The next gen, it was kind of hard to get that car out of control because it was a very, for the most part, stable car compared to what we're driving or what they're driving tonight. But I think the biggest thing is going to be taking care of that right rear. Once that right rear burns off, this car is going to get very, very loose. That rear end's going to want to step out from these drivers, and almost it could be really hard, or if not impossible sometimes, to save the car with how much torque and speed and power these cars have.
As qualifying's getting underway, we also want to say thank you to the major sponsors that are hopping on board and been on board for Season 12 of the WSSR Cup Series. First and foremost, the title sponsor of Elwood Designs. Go check out Elwood Designs on Facebook and X, as well as on SimRap Market, to go see the ways that you can build your own designs for the sim world. This Elwood Designs has been around since 2012, and they want to make sure that you've got the best skills out there to make the schemes that you want. On Facebook, go check out Elwood Designs. On X, it's Elwood Designs as well. And on SimRap Market, go look up Alan-Elwood to go see the schemes that can help you go after what you're imagining. Thanks so much to Elwood Designs for being the title sponsor. As drivers are getting ready for their first laps to clock in, we'll see who can ramp up, set the tone, set the pace. As across the line, Thomas Green we're running on board with. He's looking to be one of those drivers that could sneak into the top 10, maybe even go for the full time. His first lap, a 31.17, but it's the second lap that everyone's looking for to find the pole speed as Vincent Sora. Now it's a 30.953. Are you gonna be losing too much by going too fast too soon? As you can see the edge, Thomas Green maximizing it. He's counter steering to the maximum off onto the straightaway. And the 31, is it pole time for himself? Cross the line, first lap, Thomas Green, a 30.582. And now we look at that board as it's about to be shifting very quickly. And Richard, it's Vincent Sora trying to topple the crown of Jake Nichols.
Yeah, Vincent Sora topping the board by almost 0.2 of a second. That is a heater of a lap. Congratulations to Vincent Sora so far. These drivers still, a lot of drivers coming out onto the track for their warm-up lap. Like here, Zach Hall just came out of the pit road. He's going to build up the momentum in this first lap. Try to put down the heater for the second lap as Larry Yingling. He is currently provisional pole, sitting there in second place as he put down a 30.426. But these drivers, they've got to aim for that 30.357 time of Vincent Sora. Huge lap for Vincent. Let's see if Zach Hall can do it as he rounds turn 1 and 2 onto the backstretch, trying to build up the momentum and speed. See if this car can get as much power down that straightaway so he can top then get that pole for tonight.
Larry Yingling in third place. Jake Nichols' first lap was 5 thousandths of a second behind Vincent Sora. So Jake Nichols, he's got pace to be right there just on lap number 1. Is he going to be going for lap number 2? We'll keep an eye on it as Zach Hall's first lap going to be the slowest of all the runners that have put down a lap so far. Ryan Kelly as well going to be slotted right there. Gavin Rogers up to 4th place. So we're starting to see a couple of drivers first lap. A lot of speed being put down as Nichols says, I'll take that pole for myself. He's already got 3, aiming for pole number 4 as the 73. It's a 30.292. Our new pole time. Zach crossing the line. Can he topple the top? He will not, as that is a decent lap for himself up to 4th place, but not the pole. Now Gavin Rogers is going to be one of the last drivers that could really set a time. John Forbes as well. He was the fastest during practice. Does the 7 have the pace here with 1 minute and 18 seconds left? A close run for Jarrett Talmadge, who pops up second.
Jared Talmadge able to get the second place position currently in qualifying. Gavin Rogers, he's going to call it after 1 lap. He's currently sitting in pit road, but John Forbes, he is looking to get that pole. He, has yet to really see a breakout race for himself with Jake Nichols being here. But he is definitely looking for some speed tonight. First lap done with a 30.480, a fast lap for himself, but still has 1 more lap. He's going to try to pick up the speed as he roars down the backstretch here at the Milwaukee Mile, down into turn 3 and 4. Huge attack going into turn 3 as he comes out. Turn 4, got to try to get a straight line, get the much speed as he can down the straightaway. Let's see if he can top the board as he gets a little loose out of 4, but he keeps it out of the wall and across the line for John Forbes. and it will not. I don't think will be fast enough for him to
No,
get the
will
pole.
not. It will be slower than his first time, a 30.522, but a driver that snuck into second place, Brian McCann. Good time for himself. And what a run overall. Certainly a lot of speed still to be grabbed by a lot of drivers. One that will not put a time in, going to be Ross Tatum in the 21 machine. Overall, though, Richard, got to say, tonight, 21 drivers registered in a little bit of a smaller field than what we've seen so far this season. We'll see if those numbers ramp back up. Milwaukee's a tougher track, so sometimes it could be hard to really see where the league, some drivers, they don't feel like they want to show up to difficult tracks. Others are here to test their skills and as well trying to make sure they've got the points to make it to the playoffs, which let's take a look at those point standings as we got a 5-minute warm-up period before we get to our featured race. See where drivers are standing at this current time, because it is all Jake Nichols top of the board. Now, no surprise with his 3 wins. He's leading by over 20 points over Vincent Sora, which those 2 drivers have finished in the top 10 for every race. The driver who also joins them in that class, Ryan Kelly, 4th in points. He's finished in the top 10 every race so far this season. But at the cutoff line, Matt Muir, I'm not seeing Muir out there on track, so this gives a chance for a few other drivers outside of our top 16 try to get out there and steal a couple of more points in position.
Yeah, that 16th position is the spot they're all racing for. Douglas Newbigging on the outside looking in, but he is tied currently with Matt Muir. He is looking to benefit from that with Matt Muir not being here tonight. So Douglas Newbigging trying to get into that 16th position to at least have a chance to get into the playoffs. But, you know, it's going to be a rough race tonight. We'll have to see if he can keep the car clean, because Douglas Newbigging is an exciting driver to watch race, but he always seems to get into situations and it just upsets his race and he just can't rebound. But very fast driver. We'll see if he can stay out of the trouble tonight, score some points, and get himself into the top 16.
We'll see how that goes down, as a couple of other drivers of note that are outside looking in. 22nd in point, Jan Van Laer going to be that driver who's going to be out on track, the Tide 10 machine. He missed out on Darlington. We'll see how that 10 recovers for trying to grab a few more points here tonight. Let's move over to our schedule, because we had a very odd way of starting out this season. It was kind of a 3-race, then a 2-week break, and then another 3 races, then a 2-week break. From here on out, no more breaks. We've got the Milwaukee Mile, Michigan, Indianapolis, before we go to Mexico City road course, Rockingham, and finishing out the regular season at Talladega. Certainly a strong, tough schedule ahead of us, especially with tonight. Next week should be a fun, see how Michigan handles with this Gen 4 machine. And then I feel like from Indianapolis to Talladega, that 3-race streak of Indy, Mexico City, Rockingham, that's where it's really going to be one of the toughest sections of this whole entire regular season.
Yeah, because there's no momentum build right there at all. You go from Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 4 semi-flat turns of a 2.5-mile track, followed by the Mexico City road course, which, you know, these drivers haven't raced with these cars. Then you go to Rockingham, a short track, high bank racetrack, a lot of speed there also. And then you go straight back into a super speedway in a race where, you know, it's a wild card. Anything can happen and anybody can make it in on a win there at Talladega.
And you look at the chase as well, that's where it really looks like you can build into a momentum. It's a lot more traditional ovals that we have in front of us. As we are closing in to the end of this warm-up section, drivers are getting their last bits of practice in. This is our time for our pick'ems. Who are drivers that we feel like are those to watch out for? And this time, a little bit different than we've done before. We're going to pick right now of who we feel. We got a little bit of that data from qualifying practice. And I'm going to go with a driver who found success here last time we ran in Season 10, Ryan Kelly. That is going to be my driver to watch out for. The 3 machine has been up and down throughout this season at moments, but I've got a feeling Kelly, he's finishing the top 10 every race. This is the type of style of course that we can see that 3 really shine.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly's a fantastic pick with his ability to be able to save tires the most. But I know a driver, he has been outside looking in quite a bit, running up front, trying to secure himself a win. Currently sitting 2nd in points. I'm going to have to go with the 15 machine of Vincent Sora. He is only, you know, he has been in top 10 all 6 races so far. A top 5 out of 5 races. He's only had 1 race. He was not in the top 5. Just waiting to score that first win of this season and try to beat Jake Nichols for the first time for the season as well. So my bet's on Vincent Sora tonight at the Milwaukee Mile.
And then our third member of crew, that is Robert Moyer Jr. He's going with Zach Hall, which I was listening in with Category 5 Esports guys during practice, and Zach was surprised on the speed that he was finding. I don't think that's a terrible call. He's got a lot of motivation underneath him to try to find that little bit of extra speed. I'm excited for tonight. It should be a good one. Thank you so much for joining with us this evening as we are about to get ready for the Milwaukee Mile here this evening for race 7 of the season. And as well, in front of us is going to be your qualifying grid presented by Lucky Duck Motorsports. They're just getting into the chat as well. Thank you so much to John Peel and everyone from Lucky Duck Motorsports. If you're looking for a racing team that is really offering great bonus prize money for results, as well as helping drivers long-lasting connections in iRacing and more fun, as well as raising money for charity, Lucky Ducks is your one-stop destination. You can go find out more of some of those charities that they work out with and how to get more connected with Lucky Ducks. Go to, on X, we are Lucky Ducks. On Instagram, Lucky Duck Motorsports. And as well in the chat, you can see him out there as well. Go say hello to John Peel as practice is over, qualifying's done, warm-up is just finished up. It's time to take a look at your starting grid here this evening sponsored by Lucky Duck Motorsports. Top of the board, no surprise, it's his 4th time this season. Jake Nichols tick at the top of the board. To his outside, he's been actually in that second place spot, I feel like, a lot. Brian McCann with some good speed, and watch out for that Cody Glencock's racing team. They have all looked very good at the flat courses. Back in 3rd place is the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge. Vincent Sora, that's going to be Richard's pick in 4th. Larry Yingling in 5th. Zach Hall going to be in 6th. That's Robert's pick. Gavin Rogers starting in 7th. 8th is John Force. Chuck Sweeten, a good qualifying time for the 57, will be in 9th. And finishing out our top 10, it's the 77 of Douglas Newbigging.
Starting out in row 6 in position 11 will be Shane Terrian. And, you know, some news with him, this will be his last season racing in the WSSR. He made the news not too long ago. Going into the new year, it'll be sad to see Shane Terrian go. He's always exciting to watch race in the controller. Starting outside him will be Thomas Green in the 31. 13th will be Samuel S. Garcia. Starting outside of him, Ollie Fonseca in the 24. Ryan Kelly, Sam's pick in the number 3, back in 15th position. And the 16th will be Jan Van Leer. Cedric Hunter starting back in 17th. 18th will be Brian Knoll. Ben Keeney in 19th. Kyle Rochelle will be starting 20th. And to round out the field, Ross Tatum will be starting in the 21st position.
As 21 drivers out there on track, still yet to get into his vehicle is Ross Tatum. We'll see if he starts in pit road or will start in the very back. That's going to be a decision for him to make. But yeah, a little bit more on that Shane Terrian, situation that you brought up. Deciding he will, after this season is done, retiring from doing any type of league racing in iRacing. He's been doing this for a long time and has decided, he's going to go focus on other things. Would you love to see drivers that have enjoyed doing iRacing, have been doing it for a long time, stepping away? Sometimes they realize there's other priorities, and you love to see drivers going after other ventures from where they're at. Drivers, though, that have been quick and stay quick. Jake Nichols, 73 up front, getting ready for this race. If this is your first time watching the WSSR Cup Series for Season 12, these races, there are no stage breaks. There are no fast repairs. Drivers will have 4 extra sets of tires in pit road for this evening, and we will race for 150 laps. Richard, any final thoughts before we get ourselves racing here in 2026?
No, I mean, the only thing you got to think about is just, let's watch to see what drivers decide to save tires early and who decides to try to make it up to the front and burn their stuff. So it's going to be wild to see what happens to these cars once that right rear burns off and who can keep that car underneath them and in control and not bring out any yellows.
Well, 6 races are already in the books for the regular season. 6 more races are ahead of us, accounting for tonight. Will make it in the top 16 in points? Well, another step closer to that answer. Jake Nichols with his 4th pole of the season gets ready up front with Brian McCann to his outside. It'll let 2026 begin for the WSSR Cup Series presented by Elwood Designs. Roaring down into turn number 1. Down to that inside wall is Nichols. McCann trying to get his way throttled up off the exit of the corner, but the 73 is clear and the rest of the field roaring out of the exit of turn 2.
Jake Nichols doing exactly what he needs to do and what he's done every single race for the most part. Starts the pole, gets up front, and now it's time to just kind of run his race and let everyone else chase him down. So right now, the majority of the cars trying to get in single file. Shane Terrian getting a pass-through penalty from last week as he dives down into the pit road to serve his penalty that is carried over to this week at the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, last race at Darlington, Shane Terry and Jared Talmadge, they got into it, but because of the actions shown by Shane Terry, he was given a drive-through penalty to start this race off. So that nine's going to need a caution. With no stage break, he's going to need a natural yellow to be popping up to get back into this run, as he will stay on the lead lap as he exits out of pit road. But Jake Nichols already trying to pull away up to a 4-car length lead, almost up to a 5 as he enters into turn 1. Already 2 laps completed. The fastest lap to the 73. Everyone getting in line, and no surprise, everyone tries to get in line as quickly as possible. But here we are, Richard. I mean, the field trying to get settled. We know in the next 5 laps, if not even sooner, those rear ends are going to be on fire if you haven't been protecting your stuff.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers have been just miffed by about how much that right rear tire wears just after about 5 to 10 laps. It just kind of burns up really, really quick. And it's something they've got, I don't think they were really expecting going into this. It's something they've got to get used to and get used to quick right before that first caution. I mean, this is the time, besides practice, they're going to be in a full field of cars. They're going to have traffic around them. This is where you're going to have to learn, figure out how this car reacts with that right rear in traffic, and figure out what you need to change when you get some fresh tires on there, and if you need to go a little bit faster or a little bit slower to fix your strategy.
As you hop on board with Jan Van Leer, who will be all the way back for the 10 machine, just trying to hover around 13th position at this moment. So sees Douglas Newbegin right ahead of him, and these are going to be the 2 drivers of, does Douglas have a faltering moment, and can maybe Jan pick up a couple of positions here? Same for the 00 of Brian Noel. These are some drivers outside of the top 16 in points that know that this is a race that could set the tone. With Matt Meir not here, that is a wide open position with a good run tonight. Could actually propel you to that 16th spot, or even closer to the cutoff line. As you're seeing that 00 currently just staying behind Ross Tatum, who did make the starting grid and is already up 3 positions for himself.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job for himself, being able to start and moving up a couple positions. But yeah, Douglas Newbegin, I mean, with Matt Meir not here, you would think it'd push him up into the top 16, but the points battle between him, Cedric Hunter, Brian Noel, and Danny Ware is extremely close between those 4 drivers. So, I mean, he's still got to worry about those 4 and where they are on the track, and got to race better than them and finish ahead of them if he wants to be able to score and get himself up in the playoff contention.
Ollie Fonseca, 13th in points entering tonight. He's had 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, and the 24 trying to settle his way in currently in 11th position, but being hounded by the 77 of Douglas Newbegin. Newbegin trying to get to the inside quarter panel, going to be side by side off the exit of the corner, and the exit of 4. I really feel like it's just who can get onto the throttle better than everyone else, because of how much this rear end is kicking out on drivers, especially we saw during qualifying and practice. Here during the race, where he's starting to see the fidgeting of the rear ends just 8 laps in.
Yeah, that's where you're going to be able to benefit a lot in the longer run, is if you can get on the gas without getting that rear end to step out. The quicker you can get on it and the harder you can get on the gas coming out of the turns, that's where you're going to get your momentum and be able to set yourself up for a pass going into the next turn. So it's really interesting to see how these guys take these turns. The straighter you can take the exit of the turn, the better off you could be in the longer run. A lot of these drivers, though, they're taking a pretty shallow entrance with a pretty shallow exit. So they're riding that yellow or that white line yellow curb all the way around these turns and try to stay as low as they possibly can.
Yeah, a couple of drivers hitting that yellow curb, a couple of just trying to stay close to that white line off that entry and exit, what we call the apex or center of the corner. Drivers are letting their vehicles drift out just slightly, mainly because there's a lack of banking out there on track. This course, mile in distance in the corners, just about a little bit over 9 degrees of banking. On the straightaways, a little bit less than 3 degrees of banking they're dealing with here tonight. So it feels flat everywhere, and you're doing your best to just get around this course as cleanly as you can. A lot of brake on the entry of these corners, and they'll try to accelerate the best that you can as Ali Fonseca as well as Douglas Newbegin battle continues to fester on. But it's just Douglas poking the inside nose, trying to push this 24 a little bit too high, as Ollie, on the other hand, he's trying to find little interesting ways to get around this course, especially through 1 and 2. You saw there a lot wider of an entry, allowing a straighter exit. It's allowed him to propel his way into that position to hold back that Newbegin machine.
Yeah, it does seem like it's going to be really hard to pass here in the later stages of this run, because like you're seeing exactly right here, Douglas Newbegin might get to the door of Ollie Fonseca as he gets really close to the bumper there as we ride along right at the front bumper camera. But he's gotten to the door of Ollie Fonseca through the turns. But, you know, like we just saw, Ollie Fonseca, he's got that outside line, and that, you know, pretty much any track, when you're on that outside line, you're going to have better momentum on the exit because you're able to carry a little bit more speed through the turn, because it's not as tight of a curve that you're taking. So we're seeing right now Douglas Newbegin is trying to figure out where he can slow up just a little bit more to get more momentum down the straightaway. But right now he's going to have to fall back in line as we jump up here now to the number 67 of Larry Yingling.
And Larry Yingling, winner of this race back in season 10, the only time WSSR Cup Series presented by Elwood Designs has ran here at the Milwaukee Mile in the past, which I think is crazy. 11 seasons, and you've only ran here once. I know it's a track that for some people can be a headache at times, but Larry Yingling, he won here, but only led 7 laps. It was at the very end of the race. A lot of cautions came out, took out a lot of different contenders, had to use the bumper. One of the few times we've seen Larry have to use the bump and run. The 67 lingering in 4th. Not a bad place to be early on in this race, but with the way that we've seen these vehicles, especially this league in general run, if we see this field spread out, no caution being thrown, better hope that these 3 drivers you see on screen can catch up to the top 3. They're just pulling away.
Yeah, they're just pulling away. You know, I think that's one of the most impressive things, specifically with Jake Nichols, because, I mean, these guys, they race in a fixed setup, so everybody's car is set up the exact same. There are minor things that these drivers can change on these cars, but it's mainly just for personal comfort for the driver of how they can control the car. But the setup for these cars, they're exact same. It's really just dependent on the driver behind the wheel. And Jake Nichols is, like I said, is impressive with the amount of speed he can carry and how he can also save the tires as long as he can as well. So it is just an impressive thing to watch him on the track.
Very similar entry turn 1. It's kind of a heart-stopping moment with how close some of these drivers are getting on top of one another as we're watching the Vincent Sora and Yingling battle. These two have raced around one another for years now. They know each other's tendencies, but the worry with the Gen 4 car, not as much with the next-gen vehicle that we saw in the last couple of seasons. If you bump someone and you hit them too hard, you could do what we call a scoop, where the driver that's behind accidentally lift up the driver ahead of them and get that vehicle spinning around, wrecked. You can get some extra damage that you don't want to accrue. And for the 15, he currently is being stalled out because the lane he wants to run is exactly where the 67 is.
Yeah, and that's a really good angle right there that you can see. If you look at the nose of the car, it is kind of sloped really at a sharp angle, and you see the rear end there, it's pretty high. So yeah, if you get, if you catch up too quick and you hit someone really hard, the speed difference, like Sam said, those rear tires, you'll lift the rear bumper off the car in front of you, those tires will not be on the ground. And basically when that car comes back onto the ground, they're more than likely going to spin. So you've got to be very careful with trying to do anything. But these two battling right here, John Ford and Vincent Sora, always some fierce competitors between each other. But these two also trying to chase down Larry Yingling, get around him so they can try to make a chance to catch up to Brian McCann, Jarrett Talmadge, and Jake Nichols.
Yeah, this little bit of a battle that we were seeing. This trio that was Yingling, Sora, Forbes, they were pulling away, but because of what's been happening these last few laps, it's actually pulled back everyone from 7th on back to be into this cluster. That's going to add Zach Hall, Gavin Rogers, Thomas Green, and also driver who lost quite a few positions in the early going, but trying to get some of those spots. I'm shocked that he didn't lose more spots. Was Chuck Sweeting, who's lost 1 position. for the 57. With the way he looked during practice, I thought he was going to qualify inside of our top 5 and stay there. He's now back in 10th place. And Chuck Sweeting, he's had a very unorthodox type of a season. There's some races where he won't qualify. There's other races where he will. When he actually does qualify, he usually qualifies up inside of our top 10. And when he doesn't qualify, somehow, either scenario starting out a race, he'll be in our top 10 by the end of the evening.
Yeah, Chuck Sweeting has definitely got a long-run mentality. He doesn't really care so much about the early parts of the race. He just tries to make his way up through the field tactfully, really, and he always finds himself near the top 10, or even he's got one top 10 finish this season so far. But Chuck Sweeting, a fantastic driver to watch. I mean, he's not the fastest, but he's definitely probably one of the most tactfully drivers when he's making passes and moving his way up through the field very slowly.
Certainly agree to that. Also, has been here since the early days of the WSSR. Kind of missed a large chunk of the middle of this league's life cycle, but you know, a driver that's been growing, and we have seen him develop over and over these last few years. Jared Talmadge, you know, went under the wing of John Forbes. He's been partnered up with Thomas Green as well for a large majority of his career, but the last year, partnering up with John Forbes and a few other quick drivers, and then this season, joining with Lucky Duck Motorsports. This has been such a growth for the 27. At one moment, it was, can he get a top 15 at times, finish in the top 10, to now he is up in front of our top 5, top 3 each and every week. This has been an incredible drive for the 27, who is going to be a threat, we know, for a championship. The question is it this season, or is it going to be in the future seasons?
Yeah, Jared Talmadge, I mean, I can attest to that as well. If you can surround yourself with the right drivers, you can learn a lot. And once you learn the right things that you haven't been doing right, you know, in prior races, then you can learn, like, your skill just increases. But Vincent Sora into the back of Larry Yingling, and John Forbes into the back of Vincent Sora, and we got a yellow on the track.
And there's that caution. You could just sense that it was about to balloon up. Immediately over the radio, Vincent Sora apologizing to Larry Yingling and that whole group that was clustering up. Majority of the contact was the top 3 of Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling, and John Forbes. As we'll take a replay of it. It's going to be in the center of 3 and 4. We're going to see the wreck, but we'll watch the buildup for the 15, the 67. I mean, Richard, this was one of those wrecks where you could sense it was going to happen. Maybe thought it was going to be in the entry of turn 1. But Vincent Sora thought he finally had an opening and thought he had figured out the timing of Yingling, but just throttled up a second too soon.
Yeah, and I saw a little bit of netcode coming out of turn 2 there. Not a lot, but yeah, just unfortunate timing. Larry Yingling running a little bit higher of a line. Vincent Sora trying to stick his nose underneath there. I mean, it just seems like Larry Yingling was just kind of holding up that entire group there. And just patience running just a little bit thin as Vincent Sora just into the gas a little bit too soon, into the back of Larry Yingling, and then it was just a domino effect after that with John Forbes into the back of Vincent Sora.
Zach Hall also gained a pretty good chunk of this as we'll take an aerial view, and there's the initial move and all slight contact there off the exit turn 2. And you get to a point where you see the competition growing behind you and you just know, okay, I have to go. It accelerates, Yingling doesn't, and there is the accordion of everyone running into each other. John Forbes, kudos to the 7 machine after the contact from Zach Hall that he was able to continue moving forward and straight. But big damage for the 67. I was hoping that tonight was going to be a night that maybe he could go for that win this season. Now it's going to be an evening of how do we get this damage repaired and how bad is the damage as the field enters pit road. Getting 4 tires and fuel for everyone here tonight. One driver that loves to see this caution, Shane Tarring in the 9 machine, who's qualified in 11th. Had that drive-through penalty, did not go a lap down, so now he'll have his time to work through the field for the controller driver as Jake Nichols, Brian McCann, Jared Talmadge, John Forbes, Zach Hall going to be your top 5 as Vincent Sora as well as Larry Yingling stay for a little bit of extra damage repair to get for themselves.
You know, and a little interesting thing about that wreck that we saw, it was a prime example of exactly what we were talking about, Sam. You saw John Forbes get into the back of Vincent Sora, and you saw Vincent Sora's car just lift up and just instantly turn to the left. That is what these drivers have to worry about when they're that close and they hit a car in the rear end there. So, but yeah, they're going to get a little bit of damage repaired, and the shuffle up front has happened as we got some drivers. Gavin Rogers has moved up quite a bit. Zach Hall up there now in the top 5, like you had mentioned. So some drivers that we were seeing further back that were trying to move up front, now they have a chance and potential challenge to try and catch Jake Nichols.
Trying to get ready as Tyler Wren out in chat. Probably the worst time. And you can't even give it on us for being top tier curse. Maybe it was Tyler Wren's fault. The dude was cheering, "Let's go, Larry." Oh, 6-7. Wait, no, Larry, as they went around and brought out the wreck. Sad to see, but thank you, Tyler Wren, for being out there in chat, and everyone else that also has joined in the chat this evening. If you're out there and you haven't said hi, say hello. We'd love to see who you rooting for this evening, as 27 laps will be completed. Pace car into pit road. Jake Nichols, Brian McCann, and the rest of the field get ready into the restart zone as the Milwaukee Mile 150 is back underway. Nichols with a good launch. McCann trying to keep it close as Talmadge doesn't want to give an opening for the 8 machine. He'll dive it down low. Trying to give a major focus, get a good exit off of turn 2, and stay side by side into turn 3 as the battle for second roars on. Richard, good launch for our leader, and McCann's doing his best.
Yeah, McCann is definitely doing his best. Was able to get down in front of Jarrett Talmadge, but he gets a little too hot into the turn. He's going to open up the inside lane to Talmadge. He's going to run really wide, but he might have some momentum. He's going to be able to stay in front of this 27 for now. They're still going to be side by side. Brian McCann, a very, very high line for himself right now. He's probably just trying to get the momentum, get back up in front, but they are 3 wide further back with Holly Fonseca and Ryan Kelly. And Chuck Sweeting, he's going to back off, but 3 wide continues. But Jarrett Talmadge doing everything he can, trying to get around McCann, as Jake Nichols is loving the sight that was behind him. He's able to open up that gap a little bit and continue his lead.
Chuck Sweeting was the driver that got bounced around. A little bit of contact between himself and the 24 of Holly Fonseca, and Sweeting from 8th back to 14th. A tough restart for the 57, but a great restart for a few others. Been able to move their way forward. Vincent Sora up to 15th place. Larry Yinglings lingers back at 18th, as both of them are hoping to gain as many positions as they can here early on in this restart. I think that's why we're seeing a lot more 2 wide, 3 wide further on back. Drivers recognizing you gotta make your moves on these restarts, because once that long run hits out and you're all single filed out, there are really no passes to be made. You're pretty much stuck where you're at as drivers continue to find ways to dive bomb into turn 1.
Yeah, that's a frustrating thing for a driver also. Once the longer runs start to kick in and you get single file at a track like this, it's really hard to pass. It's a 1-lane track for the most part. And I mean, you see Vincent Sora, actually, he's making a huge dive bomb move down onto Cedric Hunter. He's trying to get around Hunter here, but they're side by side out of the turn. Hunter's going to have the momentum out of the turn more than likely. It looks like Vincent Sora got a really good launch out of the turn. He's still going to be side by side as they go into turn 1 here, and Vincent Sora will be able to clear the number 13 Hello Kitty machine.
Yeah, and that's teammates of Category 5 esports are going to be working with one another, the 13 and the 15, but Cedric Hunter, that little bit of an awkward, extremely wide, giving space for Sora. That might backfire as Ross Tatum now will dive to the inside, but Roth being on board with Vincent Sora as he's got Samuel S. Garcia ahead of him. And Vincent Sora, you got to be careful because you were racing with the front runners earlier on with those accelerating moments. Further on back, I mean, Richard, this is the most dangerous when you've got a front runner trying to work his way through the field, especially the short track where the braking points are different, accelerating points are different. It's just because of the natural way that traffic works, but also the speed difference in general being shown here.
Yeah, the speed difference is definitely showing at this point right now. But I mean, this is a danger field as well, because you have, someone like Vincent Sora. He's a little upset with himself that he, got into Larry Yingling, caused that caution, had to get some damage repaired, putting this far back in the field. So now him trying to run up front, now he's feeling a little, on edge. He's trying to get his way back up to the field as quick as he possibly can as he makes his way around the number 50 machine pretty smoothly. So Vincent Sora making his way back up through the field. He's going to look to try to pass Ali Fonseca now as well.
And Ali Fonseca was trying to a little bit of a defensive move by the 24. He'll hold back Vincent Sora for now as Yingling on the other foot, trying to find his way forward to get by the 00. But I do want to move into our top 5 because for the battle for third, Jared Talmadge because Larry Yingling was that control vehicle in fourth place, he held back so much of the competition. John Forbes, because there's no real safety valve holding back the field, the 7 able to get by the 27. How much will Jared Talmadge be saving his tires, or will he be a driver to hold back Zach Hall and the rest of the crew that are trying to move forward and stay attached to our top 2?
Yeah, John Forbes is now out of that little valve that was kind of the cork in the dam is what you could really say. He's around it finally. He's around Jared Talmadge. He's up in third. His eyes sets Brian McCann now. He's making his way, trying to catch up to that number 73 of Jake Nichols. But he's trying to get his way up there, but he's around the competition. He's got the speed and the potential. He was fastest in practice, so he's got something. Let's just see if he can do the long run to be able to catch Jake later on in the race.
Trying to attack, trying to push forward, and that's what we're going to see a lot here tonight. Most of the field in line. We can go back to Vincent Sora and Ali Fonseca, the battle for 10th place, as they've been able to get by the 10 of Jan Van Leer, who kind of was getting shuffled around. But the 24 of Ali Fonseca still defending and really clawing to keep this position over Vincent Sora. But this is the best opportunity the 15's had so far in this run. Going to dive down low to that yellow line, that rumble strip, the white line, and try to accelerate off the exit of the corner for the 15. But the 24 in the better positioning for accelerating on the straightaways. But luckily for Sora, he keeps his nose. He can go for the slide job move. Not clear enough. But they almost make contact at the apex of the corner, and they almost make contact here off the exit of the corner.
Yeah, Ali Fonseca was really running Vincent Sora really low into that turn. Ollie's not wanting to give this position up easy. He is challenging Vincent Sora, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold on much longer. Now he's going to follow in right behind Sora and kind of give up that position for the time being.
It's one of those mind games of you recognize how important track position is, but Richard, I mean, fighting that hard for 10th place, is it even worth it for a long run where it looked like during that first stint we were going to stay clean and green until that accidental run-in of Yingling and Sora?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a trade-off you've got to think about. I mean, track position is huge on a track like this where it's really hard to pass, even though we're seeing a lot of passing going on right now. So, but, I mean, you've got to be able to protect your tires, because if you destroy your tires early while trying to defend really hard like Ollie was doing, I mean, it's going to make it easier to pass you for the guys behind you who didn't burn their stuff up. So he finally recognized that Vincent Sora is much faster than him, decides to concede that position, fall in behind, and get back into his own groove, race his own race, and work for the position back in 10th.
Man, this aggressive race even further back. This is for 15th place. Chuck Sweeting trying to gain some of these positions back for the 57, but Samuel S. Garcia, a great defensive move by the 50 machine, as he'll hold strong currently in that 15th spot is Yingling. Small little movement by the 57 and the 67 as they'll be side by side. Out in chat, the person cheering on for Shane Darian, who's watching this great battle, the 9 machine in 18th place. He's got the speed and momentum to be inside of our top 10. The question is, how aggressive does the 9 want to be, and is he maybe recognizing that tire wear could be a factor, as this is really the 9 machine's first run of the day being around other vehicles?
Yeah, Shane Terrian now, he's finally in traffic. He's trying to figure out what he can do with his car around other cars, since he had to serve that drive-through. So it's good to see him back up here running in the field. Currently running in the 18th position, but I do feel Shane Terrian's got the speed to get himself up into the top 10. It's just a matter of being patient and waiting for that right moment to make your pass. As we see, Gavin Rogers is getting ready to make his move on Thomas Green and move himself up into the 7th position. And you see a little something different from Gavin Rogers. He decided to change it up for the 2026 portion of the season. He is now in a Chevy versus Ford, what he raced for the first part of the season.
You know, when some drivers really feel like they get into a slump, something's got to change. Maybe they call it yips for other people, and you know, changing something up can help you out. And now being here in the Chevy and trying to make the pass, and does get it done on Thomas Green. This one, trying a different mentality for 2026. I know for the beginning of this year, we talked to Gavin quite a bit. I know you did, Richard, on the fact of how important is it for practice. I know for some drivers, we're just showing up the race day. We got the hour practice for the race. That's all the time that we really need. just get warmed up again with the track, and then we're back at it like riding a bike. For some people, Gavin, though, learning practice might be helpful for himself as he runs in 7th place.
Well, and for Gavin, he was very good in the next gen car. The car kind of drove with his driving style. He was extremely fast in it. He was very consistent, and he didn't really drive the Gen 4 at all when it came out until WSSR moved to this car. So, I mean, he had no practice in it, and he doesn't really practice much with it, but still, he's learning really quick what this car can do. But, I mean, Gavin, he's also running on a bit of a high today because over the weekend for the 6-hour charity race, him and his teammate Adam Buzzio won overall in their Porsche GTB. So, I mean, Gavin's got certainly a little chip on his shoulder tonight as he's running with some confidence here in the number 1 Chevy machine.
He certainly does. A very strong run that he had over that 6-hour race. Again, thank you so much to everyone that participated, that watched, or donated in all the ways that you were around. Thank you so much for making this past Saturday the biggest raised event we've ever had, and one of the biggest streams we've ever had for ourselves, as well as looking for the 4th place driver. Here's Jared Talmadge. He's fallen back to 4th on this most previous restart. He was in 3rd. John Forbes got the pass done pretty early on. The 27 just settling in. He's in a good spot where Douglas Newbegin isn't close enough in that 5th place spot. But they certainly will see if the 77 can close in that gap or not. And also for Zach Hall, we're getting closer and closer to the zone where we were at when we had our last caution. For drivers that were on top of one another, had to be careful. And up front, everyone's very spaced out where we're not going to have that same issue. If we're going to see a wreck, it could happen where our last driver involved with it was at. Larry Yingling, 16th place. This is the closest battles that are happening on the course, and it's Sweeting, Yingling, Tarian, Garcia. It's the same grouping of drivers that have been racing around one another for the last 10 laps.
Yeah, these guys have been side-by-side racing for, like you said, the last 10 laps. It's been an exciting set of racing, or exciting set of laps to watch with these guys. But, I mean, yeah, everyone else is spread out for the most part, the rest of the field. These guys, if there is an incident, this is more than likely where it will happen. But, I mean, the 57 Chuck Sweeting, he's doing a really good job holding on that outside line, but it looks like Larry Yingling will finally get around him. But now Shane Terry, and he's got to figure out a way to get around him as well, as he was hoping to follow Larry, and it looks like he's going to.
And now Shane Terrian will take his opportunity to go for the pass, and just like that, Chuck Sweeting's tires running the outside, just no longer confident, and into pit road. Ross Tatum, and it looks like for Tatum, he's ran his minimum of 50 laps, and might be calling it an evening for himself as well. Into pit road is the 12 of Kyle Rochelle, who is not running as well for himself either this evening. It looks like he was dealing with a little bit of damage, but we'll see how the 21 is going to call it or stay out there on track, as Ross Tatum as well as Kyle Rochelle both at the same time have left the server, leaving us with 19 drivers out on track. And last of those that are running, here's Ben Keeney, who is just trying to survive out there on course. He lets that 98 drift quite wide for himself, but the M&M's Tiltify machine, it's always a joy to watch Ben out on track. He's always trying to learn how to get faster, and he certainly is with the team that can give him a lot of knowledge to be quicker and faster in surviving races. His ultimate goal for this 98 team, and right now he's doing a good job at it. As we move up to the 10 number of going to be Jan Van Leer, who's in 13th at this current time.
Yeah, Jan Van Leer, number 10 machine here, up in the 13th position, 3 up from his qualifying position, doing a pretty good job, just kind of keeping it nice and steady and out of trouble, just kind of out there running his own race at the time being. I mean, everyone else is just pretty much running their race right now. Shane Terrian making a move on Samuel S. Garcia. He's going to get around him, following Larry Yingling as well. But Jan Van Leer has been doing a fantastic job of late in these tracks, but Larry Yingling still leading this charge for these drivers that are trying to move their way back up through the field, because Larry Yingling, he wants to get back up there and try and race for that top 5 position like he was in earlier.
He certainly would like to. Another driver who's trying to close in on the gap to possibly go for a pass, a battle for 8th place. Thomas Green, he's got the number 3 machine of Ryan Kelly behind him, as the 3 is slowly inching his way forward. Again, the driver who It was on my list to watch out for, as he's been very good at these try to save your tire tracks. Usually it's the concrete courses where we see the three have his most success. And here tonight, he certainly is trying to mount a way forward. It's just not as much speed I think I was expecting from the three. I was expecting a little bit more. But again, we talked about it with Gavin Rogers. The last time we ran here was in that next-gen vehicle, not the Gen 4, where we saw Brian Kelly have his better strength. As the field continues to race on, we want to say thank you again to more amazing sponsors that are out there helping us for Season 12. We want to say thank you to GTR Simulators. Head on over to gtrsimulators.com and use the promo code WSSR at checkout for 10% off on purchases of $100 or more. Don't miss out on your chance to upgrade your rig and race like the pros at GTR Simulators. They've got simulator rigs that are portable that can be moved away, or you can have stationary rigs. Go check out their wide selection again at gtrsimulators.com. We also want to say thank you to Trophy Smack. If you're looking to celebrate your high moments or your low moments, they've got you covered with championship rings, belts, trophies, and their metal plate wall smack, and so much more. You can check out at trophysmack.com. Speaking about their wall smack metal plate, it is a magnet safe system that you can utilize, or you can get their stand. And when purchasing your wall smack, remember to use the promo code WSSR Smack at checkout to get 10% off on your wall smack purchase from Trophy Smack. Again, that's trophysmack.com. Thanks so much to all the amazing sponsors, as we are 1/3 of this race completed. And Richard, we've only had one caution, but I would say to this field, they've done a very good job with how difficult it looked under practice conditions and qualifying conditions to keep things as close as they are at this moment for some of these battles. We're now starting to see that yo-yo of drivers moving up that protected their tires and those falling back that didn't.
Yeah, it has been impressive to watch these guys. I mean, the one caution, not really to any kind of tire issues, just mistiming on an acceleration. But I mean, yeah, we saw a lot of issues during the practice, a lot of complaints from the drivers about how much these tires burnt up. Was going to expect to see some loss of control from these drivers, but they're doing a good job keeping these cars under control and just keeping it straight, keeping it green. I mean, a lot of these drivers, they love seeing these long green flag runs. I mean, it might not be sometimes the most exciting for us to watch here, but these drivers definitely love it, because that's where the strategy plays out. This is where it gets exciting to watch and understand, because, I mean, a lot of these drivers, they have different prerogatives. They have different strategies that they're trying to try out to see if that can propel them up for a chance to win, and that's what these long green flags run produce.
As Gavin Rogers in the one machine currently lingers in 7th, as one of the tracks that they were saying that is very similar to the way you have to race this track was Phoenix. And for Gavin Rogers, his best finish this season was at Phoenix. He finished 6th, which was one of his 3 top 10s this season. No top 5s for the one machine, who was our champion from last season. That's why he was given the number 1. If you were the past champion of the past season, you have the ability to carry that number or stick with your old number. And Gavin Rogers was hoping, I feel like the last 3 champions of hope, that was Zach Hall, John Forbes, and now Gavin Rogers, to break the number 1 curse, to win the championship. For Gavin, learning this vehicle is the key factor for himself, but once that playoff conditions ramp up, that's when we'll see, can he break this championship curse?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Gavin can do. I mean, he is playoff playoff eligible right now, sitting in the 9th place in points. And I don't expect that to change. I expect Gavin to still be within playoff contention, and I think that is where he will probably start to ramp up his skills there and try to put a little bit more practice in, learn this car better for those tracks. Those tracks are going to be a little more, I guess you could say, normal for what you would see these cars on. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe we can see Gavin challenging for some wins when it comes to the playoff time.
And looking at the field, and I was just about to bring him up as well. And so also in the chat, that is John Peel from We Are Lucky Ducks. Brian McCann, 2nd place runner right now. You know, on the other side of the coin, you know, for Gavin Rogers, his best finish of the season was at Phoenix. Well, for Brian McCann, his worst finish was at Phoenix. And that was an 11th place finish for himself. His best finishes were early on in the season when we were at Daytona to start the season off, and at a 08 configuration of Atlanta. He came away with the 5th place finish to start the season off, 4th place, which was his best finish at Atlanta. Since then, he's been having a 7th place finish the last 2 weeks at Sonoma and Darlington. Here tonight, could get his best finish of the season. Gonna finish inside of the top 3, which it's been a while since we talked to Brian McCann. This is a guy that we saw in other leagues before he moved over to the WSSR Cup Series, where he was dominating, really good in the Xfinity car, especially. That was one of the vehicles we saw a specialty for this 8 machine in those other leagues. And I would say it's some similarities where it's a lot of throttle input where you got to find your strength. Right now we're seeing Brian McCann, a lot of strength when it comes to a throttle input race, as behind the 8 machine, battle for 3rd, Jared Talmadge, who wants that 3rd place position back from John Forbes that he relinquished early on in this run.
Yeah, these two back at it. He takes it away from John Forbes back to the 3rd place for that of the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge. Now, these two teammates, last season, Jarrett Talmadge tried helping John Forbes out a little bit with the points race there, but didn't pan out, letting Gavin Rogers win that championship. But these two teammates always run hard against each other, but Jarrett Talmadge is going to take the 3rd place back away from John Forbes. And John Forbes not easily giving it up. He is still sticking right there behind the bumper of his teammate, and he's just probably going to buy his time. Hopefully save some tires, but he gets really loose there coming out of turn 2, and that's where we're starting to see it. Some of these tires are starting to slip away from these drivers.
Yeah, and one of those drivers I'm getting concerned about, that's going to be 6th place runner Zach Hall, as we are getting a similar sight that we saw that brought out our first caution of the day. Gaggle of cars getting on top of one another as Gavin Rogers, Thomas Green, Ryan Kelly, as well as Vincent Sora all starting to get a little bit too close for my liking, as Gavin Rogers trying to find an opening to get by this 32 freaking fast broadcasting machine.
Yeah, Gavin Rogers trying to look for that opportunity, but Ryan Kelly is making the opportunity side by side with Thomas Green. Green is going to have the momentum from the outside line going down the straightaway. Ryan Kelly's right there. Gavin Rogers finally finds an opening, is going to get to the inside of Zach Hall. Zach Hall slides a little high, going to have the momentum, but Gavin right there at the door, just like Ryan Kelly. We're 2 by 2 as they come across the line on the front stretch with Vincent Sora, who has made his way up to 10th place. He is now looking at this, hoping these guys stay side by side as he tries to make his way back up to the front as well.
And this 15 machine has just been methodically taking these spots away and has been the fastest driver on track on the long runs. Pin Vincent Sora as he's closed in to this wall of vehicles side by side, 2 by 2, and it is going to be seeing Zach Hall, Gavin Rogers still fighting tooth and nail for this position. Ryan Kelly, Thomas Green, the 3 looks to be in the better advantage, but he just can't fully clear yet. And showing late in the run, you might get side by side, but how well can you get by the driver in front of you? And shockingly, even with the side by side racing, they're catching up to the 77 of Douglas Newbigging just ever so slightly as Rogers makes the clearance in the pass on Hall. Same for Kelly over Thomas Green. And as they finally get in line, say hello, Vincent Sora is here, with Hello Kitty also trying to close in the gap.
Sora's caught up to this group of 4 drivers, making it a 5-driver group. Gavin Rogers making the pass, and we saw those drivers were side by side for quite a while. Typically, that outside line will have the advantage down the straightaways, but it seems like if you stay side by side with the guy on the outside for at least 2 laps, it looked like maybe their tires heated up and they just kind of lose the grip and then they lose the momentum, and that's what's allowing the guys on the inside to complete that pass. So Gavin Rogers and Ryan Kelly did a phenomenal job there, methodically bided their time, set side by side with them, and was able to make the pass. But Gavin Rogers starting to extend that gap as he's catching the 77 Lucky Duck driver of Douglas Newbigging. He's in the sights as Vincent Sora down onto the curbing there, trying to get to the low side of Thomas Green. Not quite there, but it's only a matter of time before he can get underneath the 31 machine and get that pass started.
It honestly feels like that. It is now just a when is the pass going to be made? Will it be made under pit stops? Will it be made under green-black conditions as the drivers race on? I'm also keeping an eye out on the battle for the lead. Brian McCann has cut it down to less than 4/10 to Jake Nichols, and this has been incredible to watch. The 8 machine has just been a little bit faster here, a little bit faster there, a couple of tenths, a couple of hundredths. And now the 8 machine within 3/10 to Jake Nichols off the exit of turn 4. Nichols with a little bit of more of a shallower entry and exit than the 8 machine. That's kind of just let this 8 machine wander down into the corner, then wander out just a little bit further on the outside. And it looks to be helping out on the speed as Nichols, he just now is in. Can I protect my lead position now? As this is one of the first times I feel like this season we've seen a driver catch up to Nichols and be this close into a long run.
Yeah, Brian McCann has been extremely impressive to watch in this run. He has cut that gap. He is almost in striking distance to Jake Nichols. And, you know, not to take anything away from Brian McCann at all. He has done a great job catching up to Nichols or whatnot. I'd be curious if Nichols is maybe trying to get some temperature back in those tires, cool them off a little bit. But, I mean, Brian McCann is still chasing it down, cutting that gap even more. I mean, it might be easy to catch him. The hard part, passing. We'll have to see what he could do. Jake Nichols down on that yellow curbing there. He's trying to get that the shortest way around that track as much as possible. And he is just staying in front of Brian McCann. McCann just kind of waiting his time, trying to get a little bit more speed to get up to the back bumper of the 73 machine.
Leading on where to go as these two continue to close in. We're going to keep our camera on this lead battle, but I'm going to give you an update vocally of what's happening further on back. Gavin Rogers has been able to move up into the 5th place position to get by the 77 of Douglas Newbigging, but the group is now clogged into a group of 5. It's Douglas Newbigging, Zach Hall, Ryan Kelly, Thomas Green, and Vincent Sora that are on top of one another. But I just have a feeling that whenever one group makes a big move, the other one does as well at the same time between our leaders and this pack of 5. We'll keep our camera here on the battle for the lead because Brian McCann is doing something we haven't seen all season long, and that's a chance of a driver to pass Jake Nichols for the lead into the long run. And will Nichols be able to continue to defend? And it looks like for the 73, he's doing just that. This is going to be the hardest part for Brian McCann. It's always making the pass, not the catching up portion.
Yeah, making the pass is the biggest part. He has done a great job catching up to him. He's got to save his tires a little bit more, though. Keep that distance. Or the gap has been extended by another 10th, so he's 3/10 now behind instead of 2/10. But he's still right there, still really close in the rearview mirror. Gets into the wall a little bit there, as you saw his car shoot left a little. So tag the wall. He's going to lose a little bit of speed, a little bit of time. But he is still, I mean, this is an impressive work from another driver being able to even be that close to challenge Jake Nichols for the lead. Brian McCann, if he can keep this up, it's a potential. He might be able to make a great pass on this 73 of Jake Nichols.
And for the field, they've been out there on track for 52 laps on this set of tires. And a couple of drivers, I'm getting concerned on the tire wear they're dealing with. Most of the field is about a second to a second and a half off of their fastest laps they put down here tonight. But usually at a mile course, it's about 2 seconds off your fastest lap that you think about pit stops. But with the fact that the field still has 3 more sets in pit road to work with, some drivers might decide to pit now, maybe split this run. Out of the guess, though, majority of the field, they're trying to get to lap 100, maybe 95 will be their pit stop. And take that back, John Forbes is into pit road this lap.
Yeah, I was about to say John Forbes was actually losing a lot of time to Gavin Rogers, and then all of a sudden I see his name going all the way down the running order. But we got a situation, though, 3 wide, almost a pick, though, on the backstretch with the 15 and the 3 machine with Ben Keeney going a lap, with a lap down car. But Vincent Sora tried picking Ryan Kelly to try to get around him. Not going to happen, though, as they are both side by side trying to race and catch Zach Hall. But pit stops are looming with John Forbes hitting the pit road and coming out now. So pit stops any lap now. These guys are going to start making that left-hand turn on the front stretch to get some fresh rubbers and some more gas.
We've got a couple of different battles that are also happening on track. Still the same distance. Brian McCann, Jake Nichols is now down to 2/10 between themselves, but we stay here because there's a chance of calamity striking. Let's go 3 wide. Vincent Sora pushing the issue on the inside. Zach Hall stuck in the middle. Ryan Kelly looking for a better exit off the exit of the corner, but he's not able to keep it to the quarter panel. But a big wiggle leaves a chance for the 3 to slice his way down low. And Vincent Sora from 18th on the last restart, now to 5th place and charging forward. The problem? He's 9 seconds off of our leader, but he is certainly looking mad fast at this time as he makes his way into the top 5 once again. But following the tracks of the 15, there's another pink machine here. Cedric Hunter is now up to 9th after getting by Douglas Newbigin, and one of the fastest vehicles on track has been this 13 machine. He's really done a great job saving his stuff here for the long run, as now he's got to figure out where to place himself to make these passes for position.
Yeah, these drivers have been doing a good job trying to save their tires. Cedric Hunter, so far, fantastic job, has caught these guys, especially during their times of too-wide racing, but he's still not quite in an attacking position yet. He's got to get a little bit closer to that 31 machine. Douglas Newbigin has been dropping back pretty quick as well. He's lost a lot of time. He is definitely going to be waiting and hoping for some fresh rubbers soon. Just trying to match what strategy he's going with when we need to go in. But Brian Kelly looking low now, trying to make the pass down onto Zach Hall. Looks like he will be able to clear it coming out of turn 2, but that opens the door for Thomas Green also.
And going to be making some moves some more as they get in line. Ryan Kelly now going to be up to 6th place. Zach Hall falls to 7th. Thomas Green in 8th currently with a hop on board with that 31. Behind him, Cedric Hunter just trying to find an opening to get by. But Zach Hall, big looseness, same going to be for the 31 machine. And it hurts the 13 of Cedric Hunter has to back off and losing time and momentum to Vincent Sora, who continues to try to muscle his way ahead. Update on more drivers. Brian Noel, Jan Van Leer going to be deciding to make their pit stop, which leaves us with our top 15 still needing to hit pit road before this race is over, but a good sense of what the tire run could look like for these drivers. It's about 50 to maybe 60 to 70 laps is as far as you want to go, because we're really seeing a major fall off now for the drivers in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see is what these drivers prioritize, if it's tires or fuel. Because, I mean, like, really, you want to try to be able to run the fuel out as long as you can, because, I mean, tires, they're the longest part of your pit stop, so you might as well run that fuel as low as you can, get some fresh tires to get the speed going. But it's always a balancing act. It's always there's a lot of math that goes into it when it comes to strategy calls of, you know, okay, if I come back out on fresh tires while they're still running on old tires, how many seconds can I gain? And then on the backside, how many seconds will I lose when their tires kind of start to wear out as well? So it's, you know, it's always a balancing act of when you should go in and, you know, should get tires or fuel and what you need to prioritize.
And looking at our top 6 right now, based off their last lap, but first we'll call this pass for the lead potentially is Brian McCann. Good launch for himself. Jake Nichols able to get a good launch as well. Now going to be defending to the inside. The 8 machine not able to get to the inside quarter panel. They'll stay in line. But as long as this battle continues on, Jared Talmadge, he was about 2 seconds back from this group, but he has slowly been ticking away, and it's been one of the fastest of our top 3. But if you look at the last couple of laps, everyone besides our top 2 inside of our top 6 have been faster. Jared Talmadge, Gavin Rogers, Vincent Sora, Ryan Kelly, they are flying right now, and they are slowly trying to cut this gap away as Nichols and McCann, I mean, maybe Nichols has, I know he's defending for this position, but with all of this fighting, it's going to make pit stops interesting on who takes the undercut and can find an advantage there if some of these drivers are so much faster in the long run.
Yeah, you know, undercut is definitely something people don't, expect to be so good, but the undercut can really help out, catapult you in the lead because, I mean, you're going to spend less time on the pit road typically if you're taking fuel. The problem is a lot of the times 4 tires is going to take just as long as it takes to get fuel, so you're not really saving a ton of time there, but, I mean, we'll have to see.
Talmadge in the pits. Talmadge is undercutting.
Talmadge doing the undercut, but Brian McCann still on the bumper of the 73. 27 is going to get some fresh rubber, some more gas, and then continue his race to try to get back up to the front and challenge those leaders. But these two right here, first and second, Brian McCann and the 73 of Jake Nichols, but it looks like Brian McCann trying to make another move to the inside. Nichols gets a little loose there, side by side across the start-finish line, but Jake Nichols will lead that lap still. Brian McCann now in the lead as he makes a pass into turn 1.
And Jake Nichols, is that the calling sign of head to pit road? Or do you continue to stay in line and fight the 8 machine and take this position back? Brian McCann, one of the first times here in season 12 has we seen someone in the long run not just stay with Jake Nichols, but pass this 73. And yes, it is the sign. Nichols is heading to pit road, and Brian McCann has made the pass, has led the lap in the 8 machine. Looking strong here this evening. Now the question for McCann, does he retaliate and head to pit road this lap, or does he wait just a little bit more as Gavin Rogers, Chuck Sweeting, and a few others head to pit road? It's now left to our top 9 that still need to pit.
You know, when they were coming around, when Brian McCann made that pass, Jarrett Talmadge was pulling out of the pits. I'd say Brian McCann needs to pit now. As he does, he looks left there. He's going to take that left-hand turn down pit road. It might be a lap later than what he probably needed to, because this could catapult Jarrett Talmadge to the lead, if I'm honest.
I mean, he's already going to be seeing Talmadge up to 2 seconds ahead of Jake Nichols after putting down the fastest lap of the race so far. The 23 trying to scamper his way forward, but this is where he's got to be careful. Talmadge did a fantastic job. Remember, he gave up the positioning to John Forbes. He waited for his chance to pounce forward. The problem for Talmadge, don't overuse your vehicle. You got to be slow and methodical on trying to catch up to John Forbes, who did the extreme undercut. He pitted 10 laps sooner than the 27. Currently, once this pit cycle goes through, it should be John Forbes leading this race, but for how long, that's going to be the question. And do not overcook your tires here, Talmadge. You got a chance for greatness as the 73 of Nichols. How much is he going to pace himself, or is he in full bore mode now?
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Jarrett Talmadge is definitely putting down some heater laps right now, but, you know, like you were saying, he's got to pace himself. He can't burn these tires up trying to catch his teammate of John Forbes. But Brian McCann and Jake Nichols, they come back out, you know, in front of one each other again. But even, you know, just as close as they were when they went in. So Brian McCann not that much further back from Jake Nichols. He's going to try to make his way up in the long run again. That's his aim. Wait for the long run. Unless Jake Nichols figures something out what Brian McCann was doing, Brian McCann's got a way better long run pace than any driver on this field so far.
I'm loving what I'm going to see from Brian McCann. The fact that he's only just about 8 tenths off, that is a quality position to be in. You can now match the pace on the 73. If you feel like he's going a little bit too fast, you can back off slightly for that long run. I love where this 8 machine is at right now. The problem for Jarrett Talmadge, Jake Nichols, Brian McCann is the fact that they see John Forbes so far ahead of them. For some drivers, that can put them in a mindset of, I need to push and catch up to them. We'll see what quality pace they have to woe up for these final 56 laps here this evening. Still waiting to hit pit road is Thomas Green, Ali Fonseca, and Larry Yingling. They are going to be the last 3 expected to hit pit road as they continue to stay out for Thomas Green. He's getting those laps led as Douglas Newbigin using the apron and fresh tires to make the pass on the 31, as that's a unique way to get around the course. That was early next-gen lines you were seeing there from the 77 as he made it work for himself.
It was a really impressive line from Douglas Newbigin there, all the way underneath the yellow curbing on the flattest part of the track as well, down there on the apron, and still was able to carry the speed. But I have a feeling Douglas Newbigin is really going to be burning his stuff up here, because he is flying around this track right now with that huge move on Thomas Green, as Chuck Sweeting is making a move now on Thomas Green as well.
Chuck Sweeting's able to make fast, so this 31 losing ground, but might be banking on trying to minimize the amount of lost time later on. You got to think, for a lot of the drivers that pitted earlier, they were fighting against their competition around them. But for Thomas Green, Ali Fonseca, Larry Yingling, they're going to have the best tires at the end of this race to really just go full bore with, or they can try to wait for a strategy. Could a caution come out to help them for the later on stint here and to have that track position? I think that could be one of the main factors they're looking for, is potential caution, but that risk is so hard to see come to be rewarded because there's not a lot of major packs that are racing around one another. The closest is the battle for 11th, where Jan Van Leer and Cedric Hunter currently wreck on the front stretch. There's the caution, and there's the incident that Thomas Green, Fonseca, and Yingling were looking for.
Yeah, Thomas Green, Ali Fonseca, Larry Yingling, they get a bone thrown to them as Jan Van Leer and Cedric Hunter tangle on the front stretch out of turn 4. And some bumpers were lost in that one. Unfortunate to see for both those drivers.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wondered what commentating cursing is like, it's when you call out a situation that potentially could happen, as the 10 and the 13 get together. And what a bizarre moment for the both of them, as it just was Cedric trying to make a pass on Jan, and just contact made where the 10 got loose off the exit turn 4 and got into him. Oh, what a terrible moment, especially for Cedric Hunter, who looked so strong for himself, as we're trying to get the incident for us here, as our technology is struggling a bit, as here's going to be the moment of the 13 and the 10. They're going to be going through 1 and 2. You can already see the speed difference by the 13 of Cedric Hunter. Hello Kitty flying right now for Richard. It's just trying to get a little bit too much by the Tide Machine, as Cedric was showing so much more pace, but the 10 just losing it.
Yeah, and it's just Cedric Hunter on the inside here. The number 10 just tried to get into the gas heavy out of the turn. Just gets loose down into Cedric Hunter there coming out, and it's just unfortunate to see, but that's, you know, riding on the ragged edge of out of control there. The number 10, too much speed coming out of turn 4 there. Just gets a little loose. The rear end steps out from him, and he just can't save it before Cedric Hunter comes up, and they both right hooked each other basically into the outside wall. Some huge damage for both the drivers.
Well, you saw there also the way Cedric moved in. I'm curious if maybe there was some slight net code that pushed that 10 out, because when Cedric got to that inside quarter panel, there was no contact made between the two, but the 10 just lost all the rear grip. And maybe it was because he accelerated, but a bizarre moment to look at this 10 and 13 as we're getting ready to 1 to go, as the drivers in the field, a couple taking the option of staying out old tires, a few others going with freshies. Fresh tires going to be for Ollie Fonseca, Larry Yingling, Thomas Green, 7th, 8th, 9th on the field. As you see that action, just seeing the 10 push up and then lose it down in the 13. That's what brought out the caution. A wild commentator curse moment, as I called it for some drivers needing the yellow. They get it as the field's getting ready to go green. Your top 6 stay out on old tires. That's Jake Nichols on 10-lap old tires, Brian McCann on 9 10-lap old tires for Gavin Rogers, Ryan Kelly going to be on 9-lap old tires for Shane Tarian, 8-lap old tires for Douglas Newbigging, freshies for 7th on back. Will the old tires hold strong? Will the new ones be good enough? It's time to see, with 49 laps to go. Jake Nichols is on the loud pedal. A little bit of a shimmy for Shane Tarian on the inside. It clogs up the inside field. They're going to be 3 wide further on back, but up front, it's all Jake Nichols and Brian McCann as they fight off the exit of turn number 2.
Fighting off the exit of turn 2, they're going to go single file. Gavin Rogers is now up here. He's looking to make his run up to the front to try and challenge Jake Nichols as well. This is the first time Gavin Rogers has been in the top 3, as it is a lot of 2-wide racing on this restart coming out of turn 4, with Shane Tarian and Douglas Newbigging leading this huge pack. Ollie Fonseca running Jarrett Talmadge all the way down to the bottom of the track, as they're 3 wide with Larry Yingling and John Forbes to the outside.
Jared Talmadge just saw an opening and said, I'm going to send it as low as I can and hope that 27 sticks, as he's going to be side by side. A little bit of fenders bending into one another with the 24, 27, and the 67. Still going to be staying side by side for almost for a whole lap, as Talmadge looks strong. John Force right on the back bumper of the 24 as they hit the front stretch in strength. Give it to the 67 of Larry Yingling. He's able to muscle his way forward, but Talmadge does no give, nor does John Forbes. And Vincent Sora once again has to march his way through the field as Yingling. Be careful, as Ollie Fonseca's right on the back bumper, and Jake Nichols loving all this action because he's just pulling away.
Able to pull away, but these guys, you know, like John Forbes, Jarrett Talmadge, Vincent Sora, who we're used to seeing up front, I mean, they might have got fresh tires, but how much of the resource of those new tires are they using trying to get these passes done? They're using a lot of their speed and a lot of power to try to get around these guys as quick as possible, but by doing so, it's wearing those tires out a little bit further. As you see right there, the number 77, he is down still, riding that yellow curbing around the inside of 1 and 2 there, trying to cut that turn as, you know, as short as he possibly can. But right now, the number 9, 7, and 27 all bumper to bumper, as we got a little bit of a check up there. John Forbes slides a little high. Vincent Sora is now looking to the inside of the number 7 machine, trying to make a pass, and it looks like they may have had a little bit of contact, but they keep it straight, not a lot of looseness.
is everyone trying to take the openings. These restarts so critical. And the big thing of note, the drivers on old tires still have yet to lose a position. Shane Tarrant going to be the first one, though, for the 9 machine on the outside, just getting bullied around. And the 9 and the 27, gotta remember, these two got into one another back at Darlington. That's what gave Shane Tarrant, and now the 7 gets into Tarrant, as well as Vincent Soar trying to get around. And Shane Tarrant, that 9, it doesn't want to get muscled around, but he certainly is kind of being a brake for some and a corner buffer for others.
Yeah, Shane Tarrant is just trying to play or run a defensive line. Larry Yingling, he gets tapped by Ollie Fonseca there, but a phenomenal save from the 67 machine. I really thought he was going to spin out again, but he did a great job keeping that car under control, getting it back straight and falling back in line.
A great qualifying run for Larry Yingling of 5th place, but it is snowballed out of control after that first caution that we had all the way back at lap 48. Now we watch the rest of the field. Jared Talmadge marching his way forward. Fresh rubber for the 27. And now going to be trying to get behind the member of the Douglas Newbigging 77 machine. As they go back and forth, where do you go? It looks like for Douglas, he'll stay to the outside. Now going to be another Lucky Duck member of the 7 of John Forbes, trying to get an opening to get by Newbigging, but Newbigging stays in line, and no passes made just yet. As Vincent Sora as well for the 15. How patient is Sora willing to be right now? He's in 8th place. They're still about a little bit under 2.5 seconds off of Jake Nichols and Brian McCann, who are going to be the top 2 to watch out for before this race is over.
Brian McCann, it has been impressive to see. Like I said earlier, he's just being a really, really good. That's been doing a really good job tonight, challenging Jake Nichols, not leaving his rearview mirror. He has kept that number 8 Chevy machine in the rearview mirror of the 73 pretty much all night, as he is only 4/10 behind him off this restart that we've had. And again, Brian McCann just fantastic job tonight. It is impressive to see what he has been able to do here at this flat Milwaukee Mile track.
It certainly has been very impressive to see, as Brian McCann trying to have one of his best finishes of the season. Could Victory Lane be calling his name, or will we be saying for the 4th time this season of Jake Nichols, as the 73 has been a very strong all evening long. He's only not led laps as when we had green flag pit stops. He has been up front ever since, and he's trying to continue to hold that defensive line. As speaking about defensive line, the battling further on back, that's happening for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Vincent Sora really getting a handful, is heavily blocked by the 77 and Douglas Newbiggin, who's trying to hold back the 15. Didn't do a good enough case, and Vincent Sora able to muscle his way forward, and with great momentum, might have a chance here on John Forbes. Vincent Sora is using up everything now. Just 12 laps into this run for himself. Other drivers attempting the new Douglas Newbiggin line was Ollie Fonseca for the entry of the corner. Skull and soup, but these drivers, they're doing everything in their power to make these passes before they really get strung out.
Yeah, and Jarrett Talmadge, the driver that's further up, the highest driving driver right now with the newest tires on 12-lap old tires, is chasing Gavin Rogers. He's running just a little bit faster than Gavin, but not enough yet. So he's going to try and look to get around the number 1 machine. But these drivers back here, Vincent Sora, John Forbes, they are still trying to utilize every ounce they can to get around all these drivers. They're side by side for Douglas Newbiggin and Ollie Fonseca just behind the 15 machine, as Ollie Fonseca's looking to make that pass on the 77 machine of Douglas Newbiggin.
I mean, Ollie Fonseca going from tapping and getting Larry Yingling out of shape to now pushing forward for the 24. Now going to be moving up into 8th place if he can complete this pass. Also watch out for Thomas Green behind him, as the 31's trying to get his hand into the mix. But you know, you're talking about Jared Talmadge and Gavin Rogers. The pass has been completed. Jared Talmadge up to 3rd. One of the fastest drivers out on track is now trying to run down our top 2, which was very similar to the way that it was coming to an end before we had the green flag pit stops. Jared Talmadge, he's got to be quick. He's got to be fast. How fast, though, can he run down our top 2 that are still have stayed about a half second in difference?
Yeah, the top 2 still staying within striking distance of each other. I mean, Jarrett Talmadge is finally around Gavin Rogers. Now he's going to try to move back forward, try to catch up to Brian McCann and Jake. see what he can do on these fresh tires. But the question is when do these tires plateau and when does everybody kind of run on even playing ground? It's a matter of, that who's going to be able to save the tires the most. Jarrett Tallmadge has been using a lot of his resource on those tires to catch these guys. So we'll have to see if he's still got enough once he gets up to Brian McCann, if he's able to make that pass.
Brian McCann going to be just 7/10 staying ahead of Jarrett Tallmadge. You can see that line difference, the closing rate by the 27, just trying his best, just dwindle away as much as he can. Other drivers you got to watch out for going to be John Force, Vincent Sora. They have now been able to clear majority of the traffic. One more that's going to be between themselves and Jarrett Tallmadge is Gavin Rogers, who they finally have caught up to for that battle for 4th place. And you see Vincent Sora, he does not want to see John Force just putter away. He's been trying to steal in the tailpipes ever since they got through those gaggle of cars.
Yeah, John Forbes and Vincent Sora, they're doing a great job following each other around this track. Vincent Sora not really letting him get far ahead, but now they're right against Gavin Rogers, who's now their valve that's kind of holding them back. We'll have to see when John Forbes is going to make the move to get around Gavin. I mean, they're teammates, but John Forbes, he races. He's here to win. He's here to get as many positions as he possibly can. So he's going to look low just now to Gavin Rogers, see if he can get the momentum to get around him as they go to the backstretch side by side. So John Forbes might have to fall in line again.
Certainly will, but we'll go with the late diving move to the inside of the one, trying to spook Gavin Rogers to go high, and he will give the space and a little bit of extra as John Forbes accelerates out of the corner. Vincent Sora with the better launch of all three. He'll stay aligned on the outside, watch the battle, see who's going to be the one moving forward, and that's the 7 of John Forbes and Rogers defending and holding back Vincent Sora as Rogers was hoping to have the space for a switchback move. Not going to be the case. Vincent Sora now to the inside of the one.
Yeah, Vincent Sora to the inside of the one machine of Gavin Rogers. He's going to try to make his pass to get around Rogers so he can continue to chase down and follow John Forbes to the front. But Gavin Rogers not giving up very easily as he's a little outside, gets a little loose and smacks the wall a little bit as Sora's kind of pinching him up there, not giving him a ton of room. He's going to be able to make that pass. Rogers is going to have to follow suit and fall back in line.
Just going to relinquish that pass and get in line. Doesn't want to give up another position. Ryan Kelly, who also was flying through this group. But looking at the fastest driver out on track, that is Jarrett Tallmadge. That now is within a half a second to Brian McCann and trying his best to close in the gap. Tallmadge has now just gotten a little bit of slow up because of passing Cedric Hunter, who's just wounded and now trying to get the best finish he possibly can, being 1 lap down. First try 1 lap down, looking for that lucky dog if we have a caution. But now it's the sign of what is Jarrett Tallmadge, Brian McCann, Jake Nichols, who's saving and who's still pushing? Because I would imagine Jarrett Tallmadge has not been saving a lot here. But I'd imagine Jake Nichols hasn't been trying to just fully push and give up on his tires. Brian McCann just trying to keep it equal footing at the pacing. These final 15 laps is going to be so intriguing of who can truly close in the gaps of the drivers around them.
Yeah, I think Jarrett Tallmadge now is probably going to be on an equal playing ground with these guys when it comes to the tires. Because he, like I said, he had to drive up through the field. He had to, warm those tires up, get them wearing out a little. They were wearing out a little bit when he was trying to make these passes on these other cars, and he's driving a little bit harder than the others. So I think the tires are about equal now. We'll just see who can make them last the rest of the race. But, I mean, Jarrett Tallmadge, he is definitely within a good striking distance to try to make a leap to the front. But Brian McCann, again, doing everything he can to match the pace of Jake Nichols, just kind of keep him in his sight while also trying to save the tires and make that late run pace that he had earlier to make that pass.
We'll come back to that battle if it starts to close in up front in a few laps, but I want to fall back to 8th place. There is a large group of drivers that are getting tangled up with one another in line and starting to snake their way through. It's Ollie Fonseca, Thomas Green. These two drivers have been on top of one another. Thomas Green attempted to go for a pass on the 24, did not work out. Douglas Newbigging also on those older tires in the thick of things here. Also you have Larry Yingling, Sheen Tarian, Chuck Sweeting, and Zach Hall all in line. And just one slip up could ricochet and accordion back into another wreck as Thomas Green attempts once again to find a way to get around Ollie Fonseca on this 24 Larry Arts production machine.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Ollie Fonseca is kind of holding up Thomas Green's pace. Thomas Green doing everything he can to look for an opening, but Ollie Fonseca has been doing a great job with the defensive run, kind of blocking any line that Green is trying to make. Looks like Green might have a little bit of a momentum down the straightaway here. Not going to be able to get to the side of Ollie yet. Looks like he's going to make the move here, try to get there, but they're side by side. We'll have to see if Ollie's got a little bit of momentum off the turn and can get back in front of him. And it looks like that might be the case as Green gets a little loose out of turn 4.
Where can you go? Can you find a way to get around? And currently they are just fighting every which way as Thomas Green stuck where he's at. We are now going to move away from this battle, as I know Thomas Green getting close, but we have to move up to second place because Jarrett Talmadge is there. He's within a car length of Brian McCann. McCann, you thought maybe if it had stayed Green in that long run, he could have been the threat to challenge Jake Nichols. Instead, the driver that has continuously been one of the fastest on pace, it's Jarrett Talmadge, but he's running out of laps. He's got to make this pass here within the next 3.
Yeah, he's definitely got to make it past here in the next couple of laps, but he is right there in striking distance. He's just got to figure out when he's going to make that late dive to the inside of Brian McCann. McCann does not want to fight Jarrett Talmadge, really, but he's also got to defend his position. He's trying to save the resource that we saw him earlier, keep those tires happy with him so he can make that late charge to catch back up to Jake Nichols. Jarrett Talmadge just lurking, waiting for that right moment to make his move, just waiting for Brian McCann to make a slip up.
Is there a chance? Is there a timing for this 27 to push forward? Jake Nichols again trying to get another win for himself. It would be his 4th of the season. Brian McCann trying to get his first win this season, and what a moment it could be for himself, but for Jarrett Talmadge, a little bit more ways in this win. All the wins that he's gotten so far in his WSSR Cup Series career for Talmadge have been at the super speedways. He's won at Daytona, he's won at Talladega, but he's come up second so many times, and he's hoping to win at a traditional oval, especially here at the Milwaukee Mile. I think that's a track that you could say, I outclassed the field, and what a class of drivers this one could be for the 27 if he can get it done here tonight.
Oh, yeah, it'd be a phenomenal win for the 27 to put on his resume if he can get around Brian McCann and then chase down Jake Nichols and beat Jake Nichols at the Milwaukee Mile. This is such a historic track for a lot of reasons, but I mean, this track has definitely been a challenge for these drivers, but looks like he's kind of stalled out right now. He might just be, again, trying to save his tires, wait for the right moment, but these two still trying to chase down Jake Nichols, who is starting to extend his lead. He's up to 0.8 of a second as they go into turn 1.
This is the worry that we had for the field. Was Jake Nichols just pacing himself? He wasn't pushing to build a gap, but was waiting for the competition to catch up to him. And Brian McCann, was he pacing just a little bit too aggressively to keep up with the 73? As Ben Kinney in the 98 will stay to the outside, trying to stay out of the way of the drivers around, but it will hurt Brian McCann. And going to be seeing Jarrett Talmadge follow in suit in the line of the 8 machine. McCann defensive line to the inside, not allowing the 27 for an attempted pass there. And it looks to be fight all you want, but you need to make the pass now if you're Talmadge, because you're going to run out of time to run down and catch up to Nichols, let alone have enough laps to cool off those tires and go for a pass. That's why we're seeing Talmadge, different lines, unorthodox than what he's done all night long, just to build the momentum for a chance for a pass.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can. Brian McCann, a huge wiggle there down the front stretch. That's going to give the opening to Jarrett Talmadge as he dives in a huge wreck in the back. Chuck Sweeting hits the inside pit barriers, but we're going to stay green. A huge upset for Chuck Sweeting there as he nosed his car straight into the barrels on the pit road wall. But, I mean, Jarrett Talmadge around Brian McCann as we stay green. This is what Jarrett Talmadge needed. He needed to get around him. Now he's got to get his tires cool off a little bit and set his sights on Jake Nichols. But Jake Nichols 1.2 seconds ahead of these two as they fought for that position.
It just took too long to build that mistake. Update on Chuck Sweeting. He is out of this race. Blown engine after hitting the pit barrels. He was battling with Ollie Fonseca at the time. Snapped loose off the exit of turn 4 and right into the pit wall. And the 57 will come away in 18th place here tonight. Not the evening Chuck Sweeting was looking for, but he'll have to rebound and come back next week, which for the field, we come back for Michigan next week. You don't want to miss that one. Looking at the lap times, Nichols just looks to be in a different level. All that battling for second, and for what? It's to potentially lose that spot as Brian McCann's right back there fighting for position.
Brian McCann is doing everything he can. He has saved his tires enough, I feel. He's able to challenge Jarrett Talmadge again for this position. But right behind him is John Forbes as these two get into each other a little bit. Some contact in the middle of the turn there. But Brian McCann trying to make the move to get around the 27 machine. But John Forbes is right behind him, catching as well with Vincent Sora shortly in their shadows.
But they're all losing time to Brian McCann. McCann has done everything possible, but Jake Nichols, he has ran a 31.5 second the last 3 laps. Everyone else, they would run that lap and then be about a tenth to 2 tenths slower the next because they just overcooked their tires. The 73 looks to be too strong right now, and there's just no one close enough. There's another lap car, that's Cedric Hunter, that's going to be in between our leader and this battling for second position. This looks to be a win number 4 for Nichols, unless we get a caution because the tires are too far gone for second on back.
Yeah, the tires are definitely starting to lose away from these guys, and they are driving these cars harder than they were the first, 100 laps of this race. So, I mean, you're going to see potentially a driver driving a little bit too hard. We saw that with Chuck Sweeting when he hit the tire barriers. Shane Terrian also had a moment a few laps ago, and we got Cedric Hunter here. He's just trying to stay out of the way as he's just a lap down car with some huge nose damage. But you got John Forbes, Jarrett Talmadge, and Brian McCann all on top of each other trying to wait for the right moment to make a move. But I think Jake Nichols is set sail as long as he makes no mistakes, and we don't see him make any mistakes as all season. He has only had 2 incident points that he's accrued all season so far in the first 6 races. So he's done a fantastic job. But these 3 just losing time to that 73 machine.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty easy to keep that incident limit low when you're near nobody most of the time. And that's where Nichols has been all season long. And that's kind of what's demoralized a lot of this series is how good Jake Nichols has been and how fast he's been during practice, qualifying. When it comes to race pace, this 73 looks to be unstoppable, and he's already up to a 2-second gap lead as Jarrett Talmadge, McCann, Forbes, Sora, they're on top of one another, but their pace a tenth to 2 tenths slower than Nichols for the past 6 to 7 laps. It's been rough for everyone in the field. There's just nothing they really can do. It's just a waiting game of will there be a caution or won't there be as the field races on.
And that's one thing about having a driver like Jake Nichols in the field is it really steps up every other driver's, desire to run even faster. Because, when you're running around the same guys and you're running, up here in the top 5, but you're all running on top of each other, you think you're the fastest drivers there are on the service. Then you have someone like Jake Nichols comes in who just kind of leaves you 2 seconds behind when he's in the lead at Milwaukee Mile. But every single one of these drivers, Brian McCann especially, has shown they do and can have the speed to catch him and make the pass. But Jake Nichols, again, he has just been in front all by himself, not really stressing those tires out like these 3 right here. But this is the race for position, 4 cars on top of each other trying to race for P2.
I mean, when you have a driver like Nichols out there, the battle for second practically feels like a win at this point. And Jarrett Talmadge trying to stay ahead of Brian McCann. But did he overcook those tires just to get by McCann, just to get this close? Well, John Force, Vincent Sora, they've been slowly, methodically taking the opportunities ahead of them. And they've been just watching the race catch up to them. But you got to make sure you don't get into that wall too much as John Forbes throwing off his run. He's going with a different approach, much wider entry and exit, trying to build up the speed and momentum, but that rear end kicked out and had every chance to gain right there. Kind of thrown away for the 7 as he'll have to reset for another lap. 8 laps to go for Nichols, and for Jarrett Talmadge, just trying to scoot away from the battle for third.
Yeah, I think Jarrett Talmadge has got those tires under control now. He's able to save them just a little bit. He's able to get a little bit more of a gap on Brian McCann, so Brian McCann's got to get those tires cooled down get some life back into him somehow to make a run, but I don't think he'll be able to. Jarrett Talmadge is now just kind of set sail, running his own race, doesn't really have to drive in his mirror. And Jake Nichols right here as we're watching into turn 1, he is currently 2 seconds ahead of Jarrett Talmadge in second place. He is almost ready to just set sail and drive off into the sunset with another victory lane.
I mean, with that sunset car, that's practically what he's been doing for most of this season. He got his first win at Atlanta 08 for race number 2, then won at Phoenix, and then he won all the way back at Sonoma, proving that he can win at all 3 factors of tracks. Really, the only one he's going to be missing out on is to win at a super speedway, which he'll have a chance for that at the end of the regular season. But the 73 looking good, 6 laps to go. If we could see a caution, it could be happening around the battle for 6th place. You got Gavin Rogers and Ryan Kelly battling between one another there, but Kelly looks like he should be able to pull away from the 1. And then also battling for 11th place, Ali Fonseca, Zach Hall there, decently close as everyone else facing out. They've gotten into their comfy positions, and now it's a waiting game of Nichols up front. The 73 just looking so strong. And I mean, it's hard. Like we had our pick'ems, we picked other storyline drivers because I could have picked Nichols once again. I think it would not have been the wrong call to make at the start of this race.
Definitely wouldn't have been the wrong call, and it's a very safe call, but it's always fun to be able to pick another driver throughout the field that we've been seeing, you know, be able to catch up and challenge him as well. I mean, Brian McCann might even be on that list now for a potential pick later in the season. I mean, watching Brian McCann improve the way he has improved this season from last season also, especially in this Gen 4 car, it has been a storyline also to watch. I mean, being able to naturally pass Jake Nichols in a race without caution or pit stops was definitely something that he's got to hold his head high on today.
Yeah, you know, in chat, Tyler Wren questioning, am I delusional? Is Jarrett catching? In a way, he's catching. In telemetry-wise, he hasn't been. This past lap is the first time in a while that Jarrett Talmadge is catching up slightly, but it's more so the fact of Jarrett Talmadge is so aggressive on his entry into the corners that he's gaining time there. But then Jake Nichols takes all that time back off the exit of the corner, and that's where we're seeing that yo-yo factor that kind of makes it, in a way, look delusionally that Jarrett Talmadge is closing up, but just trying to keep it close to the same distance as Jake Nichols at this current time. He's not in push mode, doesn't need to waste his tires. He's built the gap, now just save it for 2 more laps.
Yeah, he just doesn't have to, he just can't make any mistake. Just run your race. Don't do anything majorly different, but you also don't have to run the tires off that car. He just has to run a smooth, safe line, and this race is basically in the bag for himself. And I mean, like I said, we haven't seen him really make any mistakes. Like you said, it's a lot easier to not make mistakes when you're in the lead. And by as much as he is majority of the time, he doesn't really have to worry about anybody. So, I mean, he's just kind of setting sail as we take the white flag, and Jake Nichols here in the lead.
Yeah, it's your 1 to go, presented by Sim Precision Prints. Head on over to simprecisionprints.shop, and when purchasing with $50 or more, you get 10% off with using the promo code WSSR. No surprise, we had him listed as one of our drivers that could have gone for another win, and why not give him another one? Jake Nichols, 4 out of the 7 races this season are crowned by him. The 73 is back into victory lane. New year, same driver. It's Nichols for season 12 of the WSSR Cup Series presented by Elwood Designs. That certainly is how I think some drivers didn't want this race to go, but with how hard a lot of these guys had to push, it just came down to tire management, and Nichols was better at it.
Yeah, Nichols did, again, another clinic of a run for him, able to manage the tires, able to manage the pace, and keep that car in front of everybody else. And again, takes that car into victory lane, will be able to take that checkered flag home, get the trophy, and another tally mark in the W column for himself.
As the 73 gets to burn it down. Enjoy this one, Nichols. As for us, we will step away. We've got the post-race show right after this. For Jake Nichols, Jarrett Talmadge, and Brian McCann, we've got driver interviews. We'll be back right after this for some more action and getting prepared for our next race at Michigan. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show of the WSSR Cup Series presented by Elwood Designs. Season 12. We are now into the new year here for 2026, and race 7 of the Milwaukee Mile had some opportunities of some drivers to maybe dethrone Jake Nichols. Well, that's not the case. The 73 once again back into victory lane. Jake, it's been last year was the last time I saw you in victory lane. Here in 2026, you started off with a win. How are you feeling after that one? Because it felt like this was one of the few races this season where we saw someone actually competing with you, seeing Brian McCann right there.
Yeah, I kind of struggled that run that he caught me. I just was trying to figure out which way I really need to wear, tight or loose. With how it felt, it was kind of trending both ways. We were really getting snug through the center and then really on edge on exit. So I was trying to just wear a proper way, and I messed it all up. Thankfully, dirty air exists because he would have caught me way earlier than what he did. But after that pit stop under green, I felt like I just wanted to ride. I knew people undercut us, so I kind of felt like we were all going to slowly come back together. So whoever had the advantage tire-wise at that point was going to get maybe through if they got past dirty air. But then the caution came out, and that kind of threw a wrench into that. But I knew at the end of the day, I just wanted to have the advantage and have the lead. I felt like I could at least just run my pace for a little bit and force those guys to drive hard to catch us. And thankfully, that's how it worked. Jarrett, I don't know. I think he would have gotten really close had he gotten clear and away from those guys quicker. It would have probably been a good battle for sure. But thankfully for me, he kind of got held up, and then also kind of got the 8 car Brian there was all over him for a few laps, so it was kind of getting him loose and heating his rear tires up. But either way, I'm glad we came out with another W there. It's been a year, it's been forever, it feels like. But nah, just kidding. But either way, I'm glad to come in victory lane here again.
Yeah, after a nice two-week break and into the new year, starting the new year off strong, and it feels like you are a very common reoccurring person we talk to now. But I gotta ask you, when you're running like that, someone undercuts you and you're that far back, like what's the mental state like when you're behind the wheel, just kind of trying to wait? Is it hard to focus and just be like, no, I just got to run my race, or is the hard fight of trying to push the car?
That's definitely hard because, especially with Brian right there, I didn't want to undercut too much in case then he could just wait a few laps and have the long run pace he had before as well and catch me. But I didn't want to let him undercut either because I felt like if he had the tire advantage, then who knows, I might be completely done at that point. So especially with the other guys, I saw a few undercut a lot. I felt like as long as they undercut by more than 2 laps, I felt like I could get it back to them, especially with, it was like 3 or 4 of them that did it. So they would just hold each other up at that point and battle, and then we can just reel them back in. And especially when the yellow came out, it was a little scarier because it was like 4 or 5 ahead of us. So it's like, do I pit and come out 5th or 6th and either have to really overwork the car and the tires, or just ride for a while and hope it works out? And I'm glad we made the right call, at least for ourselves. I know Gavin trusted me there. I think he just followed suit and hoped it worked, and he still got a P7, which is good, but it was definitely a little sketchy.
It certainly did look at times very sketchy out there on track. Well, we head from a mile course to the next 3 are going to be pretty big ones. We got Michigan, Indianapolis, and then Mexico City. What's the confidence level with these upcoming tracks, and are you excited to be heading to Mexico City here in a few weeks?
Excited. I don't know if excited is the right word for me. I like road courses, obviously, but and I literally just purchased the track like a week or 2 ago and ran some laps with Seth Knoll in the next gen, which is completely different than this. And I joked with him, I was like, hey, at least I'm getting some practice. And he made jokes about it being a completely different car. I'm like, hey man, laps are laps, I'd rather show up with 5 laps, 10 laps in another car than show up with 0, so it'll be interesting. I kind of like to feel that place. I'm interested to see how this car drives because it is a little bit different, and with how much horsepower and lack of downforce there is. But I'm intrigued to see how Michigan and Indy go. I'm kind of good at those tracks. It's hit or miss. I think more so I'm faster Indy than Michigan, but I'm interested to see how they go for sure.
We're excited to see how you perform at those tracks, Jake. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Well, thanks to everybody at Lucky Ducks Motorsports, another 1-2 there, and No Kid Hungry on the side, and Stand Up to Cancer on the hood, and obviously we got some others, JWR Race Cars, and Caudal Chassis, Tiltify, Americares, and all of our teammates here. We had a fun night, just chatting the whole time and having a good time. It was interesting. I'm glad Jarrett got a good finish. I felt like he had the pace long run. Same with John for a while there, and even Gavin had some long run pace. Really, all of them were pretty stout on pace there, and I'm glad we, got a 1-2 after being kind of shuffled occasionally there through the top 5. But great night either way for everyone at Lucky Ducks.
That was a great run to watch, and that'll be your winner here tonight, the Milwaukee Mile of the 73 of Jake Nichols. Jake, enjoy this one, and good luck next week at Michigan.
Thank you.
As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place to talk to the other Lucky Duck driver of the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge. Jarrett, I mean, this was a performance this evening. You were so quick, ultimately coming up one position shy from victory lane. But how are you feeling after another great second place run that we've seen in your WSSR career?
I mean, I'm pretty happy, to be honest. I did no practice coming into this. Didn't really play much iRacing over the last month because I was moving anyways. So kind of just came in here hoping for just a semi-decent run, just to get back in the groove of things of league racing and stuff like that. And honestly, to come away with the second and have what I feel like could have been race-winning pace, definitely right up there with Jake, especially in the long run. I mean, I'm pretty ecstatic with that.
Yeah, that was an impressive pace at the new fresh tires at that last run there, Jarrett. Do you wish you could have got Brian McCann, and how could you have done it a little sooner to maybe have a chance for the win against Jake?
I mean, yeah, I do wish I could have got around him sooner. I mean, there wasn't really much more I could do other than just plain running him over. I tried to pass him without aero griefing him, then I aero griefed him. And to be honest, the only reason I even got by him was because he just had to flip up out of 4 and was enough to get by. Honestly, even if I got by him, probably would not have been able to do anything to Jake. I could have got there, but I would have just been the same situation, just stuck behind unless he messed up, and he probably wouldn't have. I think if we started maybe 2 rows higher on that restart, so I guess probably coming out the leader of the people who pitted there, I think we maybe end up winning because, it's 5 less cars. I think I started behind 5 people. 5 or 4 less cars that I would have had to pass. But I mean, it didn't work out that way. But like I said, I'm pretty ecstatic with a P2 and a 1-2 for the team.
I mean, we are always impressed to see your growth, Jarrett, as a driver. And we're heading to 3 tracks that are a lot bigger than here at Milwaukee Mile. We're heading to Michigan, Indianapolis, and then Mexico City. Any one of those 3 that you're feeling confident about that maybe you could get that win this season at, or are you just hoping for the best throughout the rest of this regular season?
One of them's a road course, so that absolutely will not be happening. And the other 2, I hate to say, probably going to be era games, but if I had to pick any of them, it'd definitely be Michigan because that is my home track. So I've only won there once in league racing. It's not been good to me, so I really hope it's good when we head there next week, because if not, we might have to stop showing up to Michigan.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you, Jarrett. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Shout out Lucky Ducks, all my teammates. I believe everybody had a good run tonight, I think. So it's always good when everybody on the team can have a good run and crack some jokes and laugh in VC. We got Stand Up to Cancer on the hood of the car and all the way around it. So shout out to them. And shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast and everybody who runs the league.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to call. That will be the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge, doing away second here tonight. Congratulations on that, Jarrett, and good luck next week at Michigan.
Thank you.
As we move from second place, we go down to talk to third place finisher, who was one of the first drivers this season to challenge Jake Nichols on the long run. We have Brian McCann with us. Brian, this track and seeing you so close to Nichols certainly made things fun for us up in the booth, but how are you feeling coming away third here tonight?
Well, I was shocked when I got second place qualifying, and I was shocked that I was able to keep up with Jake. So, yeah, I've seen him in those other races, man. He just takes off and leaves us, but I just kind of stayed with him for a long time. And then I started slowly just reeling him in, and then I'm on his bumper, and I'm like, oh boy, I got to take the air off the spoiler, because you know, that's pretty big on this track where you're trying to get on the throttle. So I did make it around him, and then we pitted, and I was hoping for it to go green again. Came out behind him, so I was hoping I could, you know, save the tire. I had one lap fresher tires, so that was a little advantage, but caution came out and changed things up a little bit.
Yeah, Brian, a fantastic run for you tonight. Making a natural pass against Jake Nichols for the lead was impressive to watch, and it's been really impressive to see your improvement from over last season and this season. Has this car really played into your driving style and why you're being able to run a lot better and more upfront with a lot of these guys?
I used to drive this car a lot, and then we went to the Cup car and WSSR here, and I didn't know anything about the Cup car. Then once I started learning about that, then we switched back to the Gen 4, and I got to relearn it again. So hopefully I'm dusting off the cobwebs here, and maybe I can stay up front more.
We love to see you up front competing, Brian. It's always a joy. I know yourself and the team of Cody Glencock's music racing team really have run well here at the Milwaukee Mile, but looking to the future, we've got Michigan, Indianapolis, Mexico City. Are you excited for any of those tracks? Are there any other courses past that you're excited to be running at, and I feel like you have a chance to get into victory lane?
I love Michigan. I don't know anything about Mexico City, so I probably got to buy that track. So good luck there for me, right? Shout out to my teammates, Ron and Larry, for helping. You know, we trade tips and everything before the race, and it's always good to hear what other drivers are doing.
Well, we cannot wait to see how you and the team develop and grow throughout the rest of this season. Brian, before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my family, you guys for doing an amazing broadcast here, all of our sponsors that make this happen, and the league admins for putting on the show and keeping everybody in line, and everybody watching tonight, as well as the drivers. Thank you.
Well, that will be your third place finisher of Brian McCann. Brian, congrats on a top 3 finish, and good luck next week at Michigan. As we move away from our interviews here this evening, it certainly had its ups and downs. That late caution, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag for a few, but at the end of the day, it's still the same driver up front. That's Jake Nichols getting it done. As we move over to take a look at our unofficial results, up front, Jake Nichols gets it done with the win. Second place went to Jarrett Talmadge, with Brian McCann taking third, and the rest of the rundown of our top 10 is John Forrest taking fourth, Vincent Sora fifth, 6 goes to Ryan Kelly, Gavin Rogers 7th, with Thomas Green 8th, Douglas Newbiggin taking 9th, and finishing out our top 10 is the 67 of Larry Yingling. And then we look at the rest of the field, and Richard, a lot of drivers that maybe wish they had better days, but those wrecks, penalties, they got to some of those drivers.
Yeah, a couple of those. I mean, your pick, Zach Hall, or not your pick, that would be Robert's pick of Zach Hall, finishing in 12th. He had a really good pace earlier in the race. I think just could not get the older tires to kind of stick, and we're not really older tires, but just, I don't know, couldn't get his way back up through the field like he was earlier. Shane Terrian, again, he had a little bit of a rough time there getting, when traffic got a little heavy, had a few little fender benders with some people, and Cedric Hunter, just that unfortunate-ish or incident with Jan Van Leer just kind of derailed his day. He was really, really good on the long run. It was great seeing him come up through the field after the 40 or 50 laps they had on tires. Just unfortunate to see him get involved in that accident.
Yeah, it was tough to see. I think for sure could have seen Cedric Hunter maybe finishing around that 7th position as he was trying to keep up with Ryan Kelly and Vincent Sora from earlier on, but for us up at the booth, I mean, we get ready for Michigan next week. Going to be a much bigger track as we move from the 1 mile course to the 2 mile course. Going to be 120 laps next week. Certainly should be one you do not want to miss. Like we heard from Jarrett Talmadge, there could be some games arrow-wise being played, as they were already being utilized here tonight for the short track style type racing. We'll see how that develops next week. But Richard, any final thoughts before we get ourselves out of here and call it an evening?
I mean, next week's going to be a really fun, fast-paced race to watch at Michigan. I mean, there's a lot of speed that these guys can run at that track, and we're going to go from the slow flat banks of Milwaukee to the really long straightaways of Michigan. So it's going to be a really exciting race to watch with these guys, and I mean, I'm hoping the draft is going to be just as strong as we normally see it in the other cars that race there, and maybe have another driver challenge Jake Nichols for that lead and potential for that win.
Yeah, we'll see if anything develops moving forward. But for us here tonight, thank you so much to all those that were here on your Wednesday night to hang out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Richard Wolsifer, and as well for Robert Moyer Jr., thank you so much for joining with us watching the WSSR Cup Series presented by Elwood Designs. Season 12, Race 7 here from the Milwaukee Mile is in the books, and Jake Nichols takes his 4th win of the season. He's now batting over 500 on victory lane visits this season. We'll see if he can get it done once again at Michigan, because next week's a race you don't want to miss. Michigan last season was the start of one of the most incredible stretches of a 5-race spree we had, where it was a last lap pass that kept on happening. Will we get another last lap pass at Michigan? You'll have to find out, as next week will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.